Tonight's session is on economic development, a term whose meaning is not quite as transparent as some of the other topics we've talked about. What we mean by economic development is basically all the ways in which governments at various levels will work to encourage, cajole, or retain business investment and jobs. It's a prominent activity of local governments in good times and in bad, with different kinds of incentives and different kinds of pressures. This is a policy area that really threads its way through a lot of other things that we've been talking about. I mean, think of our discussions of healthcare, poverty, transportation, water quality, are almost always premised on the assumption that public policy should be crafted in such a way as to encourage economic growth. And so transportation infrastructure should encourage new investment, education, healthcare. Remember how important it was in the healthcare debate that the reform might sort of release entrepreneurial energies, allow people not locked into jobs by health plans to go out and start their own businesses. So we're narrowing our attention tonight to the range of policies that are specifically aimed at trying to draw business investment, to try and draw jobs to a particular area. So this is an area of policy that's particularly prominent among local governments, state governments, although the federal government has its share of policies as well. A lot of this is a very diffuse form of policy. This is from the State Department of Economic website. I don't expect to be able to read this, just get a sense of how long the list of things is that the state does in terms of tax credits and subsidies and incentives to try and, again, draw new business investment or retain business investment that's already there. This was rooted in strategies first developed in the 1930s and 40s in the United States. It really grew out of the effort of southern states to try and diversify their agricultural economies and attract business. And what that meant, of course, was not conjuring up investment out of thin air, but to get businesses to move from elsewhere, to come south from the north. This program was dubbed the Balanced Agriculture with Industry Program, and states like Mississippi and Alabama were particularly aggressive in promoting their states, in providing various subsidies that Greg and the others will talk about, and in providing more broadly what became this sort of central element of economic development strategy, a good business climate. And this, of course, this could mean anything from low wages, in the Southern strategy, it was often an explicit absence of unions, to all sorts of other things, an educated local labor force, access to public transit for workers, inexpensive housing. This is the sort of business climate index that the state of Iowa currently publishes on its development website. This, you want to go back? This touches a lot of the basic themes we've been talking about in the course. Remember, we started out with a sort of basic riddle of democratic capitalism, in which the task of running the economy, the political task, really often revolves around encouraging economic growth. But that brings you all the other benefits, in terms of good employment, good health care, that depend very much on the marketplace. And it pushes, again, this notion of maintaining a good business climate, both specifically with economic development policies, but of course also with all your other policies. You don't want policies that drive business away. Historically, for example, states with very high social welfare expenditures were understood to have high tax burdens, and that would be unattractive to business. This, again, was part of that classic Southern strategy. This also underscores a common theme we've been talking about, and that is the jurisdictional tangle. In American public policy, you're talking about federal, state, local policies running simultaneously in a sort of fragmented political system in which the preference is often for local policies or, in the case of social policy, locally administered policies. This is particularly true of economic development because by its very definition, this is a policy by which local governments compete with each other. One of the interesting things I found in researching this is the way in which different localities all manage to portray themselves as the center of the universe, as the place that you want to invest. Whether if you're in the middle of a big metro center, you say we're near everything. And if you're in the middle of nowhere, you say, well, we're pretty close to everything. And everything has to go through us on the way. So different pitches, different localities make for different kinds of investment. The other interesting thing about this, and our panelists will speak to this directly, is in terms of the sort of political and partisan breakdown, there's a wide range of opinion on these sorts of subsidies. In one view, of course, offering these incentives creates a sort of business-friendly environment, it grows the economy, and it brings all the benefits, good healthcare, good education, high tax base that come with that. That it's, in an unalloyed sense, a good thing. Just as commonly, although you see the argument, this is just a giveaway of taxpayers' money, that if we're in a political economy which yields so much political authority to the private market, let the private market sort out these problems. But remember, there's that sort of basic view that government intervention is always inefficient. Let the market sort out where the investment should go. And then I think there's a substantial middle ground on this issue, which holds that, yeah, of course we should play this game, of course we should offer incentives, but we should always get something in return. And much of the political battle is over what we get in return. Job standards, wage standards, green standards, that sort of thing. And so what you see is often sort of unlikely political opponents or allies on this issue. Economic development, often finds fans among local governments who see it as an essential tool to attracting investment, among business who receive the subsidies. But you'll find opponents on the left and the right, the sort of libertarian, let the market sort out the problem crowd, but also the sort of good government left crowd that thinks that this is just a handout to business interests.